If someone were to ask me how has classic film impacted your life, I could go off in so many different directions because it has impacted my life in so many different ways. As a child growing up, laying on the living room floor and watching the late show and learning who Jimmy Cagney and Humphrey Bogart and Clark Gable and Spencer Tracy were, and Greta Garbo and Katharine Hepburn, and all of those great stars from the past. That was the foundation of my love for film. As I've grown into an adult and into adulthood, I've carried that passion. Movies make up such a huge part of my being that sometimes I wonder where I would be without them. And Turner Classic Movies, thank God for Turner Classic Movies, because it's a place that we can go and we can turn our channel to that shows these films uncut in the best possible quality. Without this channel, without TCM, I don't know what we would be doing. But yeah, it's the classic films and films in general have impacted me in a lot of different ways. They've taught me things, they've educated me, they've entertained me, they have in some way shaped my opinion about things. Obviously, some of the more political films, especially the work of Capra and Ford in the 30s and 40s, helped define some of my political views. And also some of my patriotism, too, has come from some of those films as well. So, yeah, I would say that cinema as a whole, not just classic movies, but cinema as a whole has impacted my life. This year I'll be going to the Turner Classic Movies Festival with my dad. It'll be a little bit different. The past couple years I've flown out across the country from Philadelphia, the Philadelphia area where I'm from, by myself, and this year Dad will be in tow, and it'll be a lot of fun. A couple months ago we lost my mom, and it was my mother and father who really got me interested in films and in movies when I was a kid, because they were film buffs. And my mother's favorite actor was Montgomery Clift. Her favorite film was Valley of Decision, but her favorite actor was Montgomery Clift. And one of the last things my mother said to me the day before she went into the hospital was the night previous to that she had watched Red River on TCM at 2 o'clock in the morning. And she remembered, and at that point in her life she wasn't remembering a whole lot, but she remembered watching Red River, and she told me about it. And it was probably the 50th time she had seen this film, but it was like she had seen it for the first time. And so Dad's going to come with me, and he's already excited and has talked to me about seeing Rhonda Fleming and seeing Kim Novak, and I can't wait to be sitting there next to him while all of this is happening. I've had so many different film experiences that have happened to me while I'm watching a film or sitting in a movie theater. There are just so many, but probably two that come to the forefront would be the first time I saw City Lights, which was in a theater. I was very fortunate, which totally changed my view on Chaplin. I had always admired Chaplin, but this film really showed me how much of an artist he was, and also how much of a human being he was, because the pathos and the comedy that come out of that film is to this day just amazing. First time I saw City Lights, it was definitely a moment. And another moment, more recently, I was fortunate enough to take my two daughters, who were, I guess, in their late teens at this point, to a screening of Life is Beautiful. And I can still remember leaving that theater with my two daughters, very silent, not saying a word, and I wondered as I left the theater if they had the same impression of the film that I did, because I absolutely loved the film. And they did. And when it became obvious to me that they felt the same way that I did, and they agreed with my interpretation of the film and my love for the film, it just made my love for the film even more. Why do classic films get to me as much as they do, or why do they mean so much to me, or why is TCM so important to me? That's a very easy question, and I could only answer that question by just telling you, or repeating the words that Jimmy Stewart said many, many times. And he has said that, movies give us pieces of time, and those pieces of time get etched into our memory, and we never forget them. So when I start thinking of classic films, there's just a myriad of memories that come into my mind, and so many of them I can share with a lot of other people because they've had those same memories, and it really, it starts. Gosh, it starts with Steve McQueen jumping over that fence at the end of The Great Escape. Talking about City Lights, the last 10 seconds of City Lights, I define anybody not to tear up at the end of City Lights. Every single second of celluloid, every single second of film in the film Sunrise is a masterpiece that comes into my mind. Jimmy Cagney saying "I ain't so tough" at the end of Public Enemy. There are just so many. Kevin Costner standing in the middle of a cornfield, listening to voices telling him to, if you build it, he will come. Mel Gibson screaming freedom at the very end of Braveheart, right at the hands of his own executioner. It just goes on. William Holden all throughout Stalag 17. Talk about the epitome of coolness. It just goes on. It just goes on. There's so many different memories, and those memories just keep on coming back. Singing. Speaking of Stalag 17, singing when Johnny comes marching home, or singing the bus ride in It Happened One Night, when they're singing "The Man on the Flying Trapeze." Bert the cab driver saying to George Bailey, "You're alive, you're alive," or George Bailey saying to Bert, "I'm alive, I'm alive." Zuzu pedals. There's just so many, and it just goes on, and that's why I love movies so much, because they've given me these memories, and those memories never go away. They just keep on coming. And the more you see more films, the more you see more classic movies that get into your brain and into your psyche, the more memories that you have, those pieces of time that Jimmy Stewart always referred to. That's why I love classic film. It's the memories. There's not really a type of genre that I love more than another, because I love them all. There are silent films that have turned me on just as much as recent movies. There are westerns and war films and dramas and comedies. I kind of like them all. I guess if I was on a deserted island, I would probably pick human interest dramas, I guess, and that includes silent films and films from the 30s and 40s and all the way up until today. I guess that would probably be my choice, but there isn't any specific genre. There are actors and directors that I have followed that I admire the most, and I love the work of Frank Borzage. I love Murnau. I love Chaplin and Keaton, and a lot of the masters and the creators of the art form. And obviously, if you love film, you love Hawks, and you love Capra, and you really love Ford. And then you also love Preminger, and you also love Aldrich, and you love Don Siegel, and you love Sergio Leone, and you love them all, because these are the men that bring you, or that brought these films to us and created these masterpieces that we never forget about, and that we watch over and over and over again. And it doesn't matter how many times you can sit and watch Once Upon a Time in the West, because there's always the next time that you look forward to seeing it. What am I looking for the most when it comes to this year's Turner Classic Movies Festival? I'm just looking for the experience. Being around a lot of people that are like me, of all ages, from all over the country. That's probably the best part of this festival, is you get to meet folks that love film as much as you do, and they're all different types of people, and they're all different ages, and it doesn't matter. And you're standing in line with them, and you're sitting next to them in theaters, and you're sitting at the the cocktail party with them, and you are just chatting about movies, and you're not talking about politics or the the problems of today. You know, you're spending a little bit of time talking about classic movies, and what better way to spend 3 days than that. I guess when someone, I mean, I guess when someone asks me what inspires me and what causes my devotion to classic films, and why I spend so much time watching them, and why Turner Classic Movies is the #1 channel that's viewed on my television set, or the #1 channel that is DVR'd, I answer it very, very simply. It is a very, very simple answer, and I didn't come up with this term, but Jimmy Stewart came up with this term, and he always used to say that movies bring us pieces of time, and these pieces of time are memories that are lodged in our memory bank, in our psyche, and those memories never go away, and those memories just add on to your love for the film. And what are those memories? Those memories are those moments in film and in cinema that you always remember. And it begins with Steve McQueen jumping that motorcycle over that fence at the end of The Great Escape, and it goes all the way back to the house falling on Buster Keaton, or Harold Lloyd hanging off of the clock, or Douglas Fairbanks, riding the sail, with the knife, and it goes into Clark Gable teaching Claudette Colbert how to dunk a donut, something as simple as that. It goes, through Gone with the Wind, every moment of Gone with the Wind. It goes through every single second of film in Sunrise. Every single second of film is a masterpiece in Sunrise. The end of City Lights, the last 10 seconds of City Lights, is there anybody out there that can watch those last 10 seconds and not tear up? I defy anybody to watch those last 10 seconds and not tear up. It's current day. It's Kevin Costner walking around a cornfield, and a voice is telling him, if you build it, he will come. It's Mel Gibson screaming out freedom while he's looking into the eyes of his executioner at the end of Braveheart. It's Jimmy Cagney saying, I ain't so tough. It's Jimmy Cagney saying, top of the world, Ma. It's Jimmy Cagney saying, my father thanks you, my mother thanks you, my sister thanks you, and I thank you. There's so many different memories, and I could go on and on, and I am Spartacus. There's just so many. This litany of moments from films that etch into our brain and that bring us comfort in times of need. And I know that sounds cliche-ish and maybe a whole lot of other words, but it's the truth for those of us that are really in love with film. And thank God we have TCM that continues to show us these films. And not only do they continue to show us these films, but they continue to show them in the best quality available, uncut and commercial free. And without TCM, we would have no place to see these films. So that's kind of what inspires me. And what inspires me the most is finding that next film and seeing that next film that I haven't seen. There's always one out there.